Welcome to The Explainer. I am incredibly pumped to have you here today because we are setting off on an absolute adventure. We're totally leaving the comfort of our everyday lives behind and venturing into the extreme, high-stakes world of polar aviation. If you've ever wondered how humanity manages to survive, let alone operate in the most unforgiving, icy corners of our planet, well, you are exactly in the right place. So strap in because we are heading to the high north.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you or I think of an airport, we immediately picture, massive terminals, endless stretches of concrete runways, interconnected highways, the whole bustling major city vibe. It's all about concrete convenience. But shift your focus to the rugged landscape on the right. Out in polar and remote environments, that entire infrastructure just vanishes. Poof, gone. Instead of cities, you're looking at towering mountains and dense forests. Instead of perfectly paved asphalt runways, you have frozen lakes and wide-open wilderness. This stark contrast is basically the foundation of our journey today. In remote regions across Alaska, northern Canada, and other extreme polar environments, traditional airports simply don't exist.
Section 1. Aviation in the Wilderness.
To really grasp this, we have to completely rethink how flight operations work when the environment dictates the rules, not the engineers who pour the concrete. So let's define what we're actually talking about here. This is known as bush flying, or wilderness aviation. By definition, these are flight ops carried out in incredibly remote, often totally inhospitable regions. Because there's zero asphalt, pilots just have to use what nature provides. Lakes, rivers, coastal waterways, they literally become the landing zones. Water and ice fundamentally replace the traditional runway. It's a completely different paradigm of flight, where Mother Nature is basically your air traffic controller.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the raw, unapologetic simplicity of it all. Looking at this active bush-flying seabase, you don't see massive radar towers or sprawling baggage claims, right? You just see floating wooden docks. You see simple fuel caches stored in basic bulk tanks. You see rugged seaplanes actively loading and unloading right in the shadow of massive glaciers. I mean, some of these bases consist of absolutely nothing more than a dock, a tiny storage shelter, and a muddy shoreline access point. Yet, this incredibly simple setup, it is the absolute beating heart of wilderness logistics.
Section 2. Lifelines for remote communities.
Now, I want to shift our perspective a bit here, because this isn't just about the thrill of flying in the wild. It is fundamentally about survival. For communities out in the extreme cold, these sea bases support missions that are absolutely critical. We're talking essential passenger transport, everyday food delivery, rapid medical evacuation, vital fuel resupply, cargo movement, and literal life-or-death emergency response. Imagine living in a settlement only accessible by seasonal ice roads or summer water routes. When winter locks everything down, or worse, when an emergency strikes, these remote outposts and the rugged aircraft that serve them are literally your only connection to the outside world.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that lifeline looks like in practice. Look right there. You can see an ambulance backed right up to the dock of this isolated village, totally ready to receive a patient or crucial medical supplies straight from the seaplane. You've got workers hurriedly unloading heavy crates of cargo. Notice how the entire village is clustered around this single, vital access point. Without this sea base, the community would be 100% cut off from the global supply chain and emergency healthcare. No way in, no way out. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote, straight from our source material. In many isolated communities, seaplanes are not simply tourism aircraft. They are essential lifelines. I really want you to take that away from this explainer today. It's so easy for us in cities to view seaplanes as, fun novelties for a weekend getaway. But in the high north, they are the very heartbeat of remote settlements. They deliver the food, the fuel, and the medicine that keeps these isolated communities alive.
Section 3. Surviving the harsh reality.
But here's the catch. Keeping that lifeline open requires overcoming some truly unimaginable obstacles. Every single day, pilots and ground crews in the Arctic face brutal environmental challenges that would literally shut down a major city airport in minutes. Just look at the freezing, icy reality captured here. Imagine that biting, bone-chilling cold. Pilots operating out of a base like this have to manage extreme freezing temperatures, sudden and violent weather shifts, terribly low visibility, and howling winds. And remember, they are doing all of this while operating hundreds of miles away from any major support facilities. If something goes wrong out here, you can't just call a tow truck or walk to a heated terminal for an overpriced coffee. Actually, conditions can change so rapidly that open water can freeze into a deadly hazard while a pilot is still mid-flight. It's wild.
Because the environment changes so violently, operators have to be absolute masters of mechanical adaptation. When winter hits hard and everything freezes solid, aircraft are quickly fitted with skis to land directly on the ice and snow. Then, when the waterways thaw out in the summer, they swap back over to traditional floats. And for those messy, mixed, unpredictable environments, they rely on amphibious configurations. It is a constant, incredibly high-stakes puzzle of matching your landing gear to a rapidly shifting landscape.
And hey, it's not just the hardware that has to adapt, it's the human beings sitting in the cockpit. Wilderness navigation is a completely different beast from urban flying. Out there, you have no neat lines of runway lights or localized landing systems guiding you softly down to the tarmac. None of it. Pilots rely intensely on raw terrain awareness, sharp visual navigation, satellite systems, and above all else, deep, hard-earned operational experience. Because search and rescue capabilities are incredibly limited out here, a pilot's raw judgment and meticulous flight planning are often the only things keeping them safe.
Section 4. The future of Arctic sea bases.
So, despite these massive, almost overwhelming challenges, the high north is actually getting busier by the day, and these outposts are actively evolving. Activity up in the Arctic is increasing at a remarkable pace. The impacts of climate change are altering ice routes and opening up entirely new areas. We're seeing a huge surge in resource development, critical scientific monitoring of the changing environment, and, even a notable increase in tourism. All of this expanding northern activity is driving a massive new demand for advanced polar logistics and highly capable remote transport systems. The need for these rugged sea bases is growing, not shrinking. Let's move to Embraer and see how this builds into an incredible vision of tomorrow. Just take a look at this high-tech, futuristic Arctic sea base. As technology rapidly advances, remote aviation is going to be completely reshaped. We are looking at a future that includes electric seaplanes, autonomous delivery drones, and advanced, highly sustainable infrastructure utilizing wind and solar power, yes, even in these extreme conditions. Modern satellite navigation and communication arrays will eventually bring an entirely new level of safety and efficiency to these remote, icy outposts. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But even with all the flashy drones and whisper-quiet electric engines, we really must remember this quote from our sources. The core mission remains the same, connecting isolated regions where traditional infrastructure remains limited. No matter how futuristic or shiny the technology gets, the essential, very human mission of wilderness aviation just does not change. At the end of the day, it is still about providing crucial access to some of the harshest environments on Earth, where few other transportation systems could possibly survive. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating thought to end our explainer today. As climate change continues to open up the Arctic, and as incredible new aviation technologies emerge, how critical will these icy lifelines become for the future of global logistics? Think about it. Will the remote, tiny sea base of today become the bustling, vital logistics hub of tomorrow? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for exploring the extreme and vital world of polar aviation with me. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.